Audi's taken drastic action that shows its Formula 1 team is in trouble already, a year and a half before even getting on the grid. Ex-Ferrari team boss Mattia Binotto is taking up a senior role in Audi's F1 programme after what it calls a realignment of its management that includes the exits of what were its two most senior figures. Audi F1 team CEO Andreas Seidl and former Audi board member Oliver Hoffmann are both heading out the door, with Binotto starting in a dual role as Chief Operational and Chief Technical Officer in August. Audi's justification for this change, according to company CEO Gernot Dollner, is to bring its F1 project up to F1 speed by means of clear management structures, defined responsibilities, reduced interfaces, and efficient decision-making processes. It's kind of ironic for so much corporate jargon to have been used to emphasise the importance of an efficient, independent team that can act quickly. But it might imply that it was recognised the team was becoming too Audi, too much like a stereotypically complex German corporate structure to fix the problems that have been blighting the Sauber team Audi is taking over. Dollner will also double up by taking over Hoffmann's job as chairman of the board of all Sauber's companies. So with Dollner and Binotto both having twin roles, there will at least be a slightly clearer chain of command. That being said, losing two of the architects of the Audi F1 project before the manufacturer gets anywhere near the grid is a remarkable development. Seidl left McLaren to head this up at the end of 2022, even though that was officially in a Sauber-only capacity for the first year or so. Meanwhile, Hoffmann only stepped down from Audi's management board to take on that Sauber chairmanship earlier this year. Their new official roles as part of Audi F1 management were only announced early in 2024, but it's gone wrong very quickly. And to be honest, something of this magnitude actually felt like it was coming for a couple of months already. The on-track performance hasn't improved enough in the short term for Sauber, and there have been issues getting long-term driver target Carlos Sainz to commit. With some rumoured wrangling behind the scenes over who should really be in charge, it looked like it might be a case of Audi having to stand behind one of Seidl or Hoffmann. The fact it's both of them going is a big surprise, but reflects how large a course correction Audi's most senior management members feel this project needs. We'll get into the on-track slump that led Audi to such a pivotal decision in a moment. Audi's committed to something that could be a massively disrupting factor 18 months out from an Audi works team being on the grid for the very first time. Everything has been planned over the past 24 months for a Seidl-led team to go in a Seidl-led direction. Binotto will want to do things his way, and that's going to take months to implement. It's an aggressive move, but clearly one Audi has deemed necessary to save a project in trouble, one that looks somewhat drifting and not joined up enough between the Audi and Sauber sides. It's been rudderless in terms of addressing poor on-track performance. Sauber's progress has not been quick enough or clear enough with the changes Audi's played a key role in supporting. Clearly, Audi's reacting to that, and whether that's really Seidl's fault or not, the responsibility has presumably been placed at his door, and Hoffmann's. For all the short-term pain that any Binotto-led reshaping might entail, it's much better doing this now than to start 2026 with doubts and then try to redo everything 18 months or 2 years from now when the Audi works team isn't performing at an acceptable level. Such action shows two things: that Audi is willing to be decisive and that it felt its F1 team needed a big course correction. But this is still problematic, given Audi has already had 2 years to start shaping its team for the better. Audi's only silver lining here is that there is still time to find a solution, and it desperately needs these personnel changes to be the start of that. The Sauber team won't be officially called Audi until 2026, but the process of evolving into a works team has been going on ever since the German manufacturer bought into the team 2 years ago. And despite the supposed acceleration earlier this year when it upped its stake to 100%, nothing has got better on track. In fact, things have got worse. Think back to the start of this rules cycle in 2022 and Sauber flew. Spearheaded by Valtteri Bottas, it racked up 51 points in the first 9 races of the season to lay the foundation for finishing 6th in the Constructors' Championship. That was a big step forward for a team that hadn't done better than 8th over the previous 8 seasons. Since then, it's managed a paltry 20 points across 48 races. Right now, it's last in the Constructors' Championship and hasn't scored a point. Early in 2024, there were times when the car was quick enough to be a top 10 threat, and Bottas was in contention for points both in Australia and Japan. But disastrous pit stops held the team back, and it wasn't until race 7 at Imola that the necessary changes to the wheel nuts and hubs were made to prevent the heat-related problems. The team has also struggled aerodynamically. On a good weekend, for example in Spain or Hungary, it's capable of qualifying towards the top of Q2, but too often the Sauers have struggled to escape Q1. The car is weak on bumpier tracks and in terms of the way it settles after hitting curves, and is also unstable in high-speed corners. After introducing a major upgrade in Hungary that included changes to the side pods and floor, Bottas said that further gains were needed, in particular in the fast corners. The team has gone through major changes. Ex-McLaren man James Key took over as technical director in September 2023, replacing Jan Monchaux. He made changes to the car concept for 2024, most significantly changing to pull rod front suspension, but Sauber has still struggled. On average, it has the slowest car in 2024 in terms of outright pace. The team hasn't been standing still, and plenty of new recruits have been brought in. Recently, it was announced Stefan Stranz will join from Mercedes in October as programme manager. Lee Stevenson joined as chief mechanic at the start of the year, having enjoyed enormous success at Red Bull. There has also been significant recruitment behind the scenes as the team expands dramatically. The trouble is that on-track performance has remained poor. Audi doesn't expect Sauber to be running at the front now, but a team that's less than 18 months away from carrying the company's colours in F1 needs to show more obvious signs of progress. Mattia Binotto has been on the F1 sidelines since effectively being forced out of Ferrari at the end of 2022. He brings a vast amount of experience in F1 to Audi and is one of the few to have run a fully integrated works team in F1 with oversight of both the chassis and engine departments, having risen through the ranks of Ferrari's engine department, been its CTO and its team principal in a career spanning almost 30 years. Binotto's stint at the helm of Ferrari was, at times, controversial. Ahead of the 2020 season, the FIA announced it had reached a private settlement with Ferrari related to the FIA's suspicions, which it could not prove, that the regulations governing power units had been breached. That settlement led to Ferrari cooperating with the FIA on the policing of the regulations and was followed by a notable drop in Ferrari's performance, making for difficult 2020 and 2021 seasons. And although Ferrari used that time in the wilderness to begin the current rules cycle strongly in 2022, Binotto's leadership came under fire as Ferrari made frequent operational and strategic mistakes and failed to develop its car effectively. While his stint at Ferrari was not as successful as he wanted it to be, Binotto has plenty to offer Audi. He knows F1 inside out, both technically and politically, and has the skills necessary to understand both the chassis and engine sides of a team's operations. He knows how to lead an F1 team under the most intense pressure and understands the realities of having to deal with the corporate side of a manufacturer. He also has the advantage of not being aligned with either Audi or Sauber. That means that he won't be seen as siding with one or the other and is in position to bring the two sides into better alignment, something that has been a problem. Binotto has been there and done it when it comes to many parts of the role. What he hasn't done is lead a team to championship success in F1. And while that's the ultimate goal for Audi, right now it faces a battle even to achieve respectability. His CV means he can hit the ground running and have an immediate enough impact to ensure Audi is building in the right direction. Whether he's the right person to take the team all the way to the top is another question, but maybe Audi's taken a look at what's happened at McLaren since Seidl and Key left for inspiration. The transformation at McLaren post-Seidl and post-Key indicates they might have been very good at putting things in place to do well, but weren't necessarily great at actually maximising that to the necessary degree in the short term. It could be that a similar situation has been going on at Sauber, where some decent building blocks have been put in place and they're making broadly the right decisions and strategic choices, but someone else is required to turn that potential into results. That's been Andreas Seidl at McLaren. It looks like Audi's banking on it being Binotto at Sauber, even if that will be in a different role. The first thing to ponder is what this means for Sauber technical director James Key. Binotto will need a senior technical leader to report to him as CTO, but whether he thinks Key's the right man for the job has to be up for debate. That's not necessarily because of Sauber's awful form this season, because while its development rate has remained as underwhelming as it was previously, Key joined too late to fully influence this year's car, so really it's too soon to judge him. But Key was undeniably a Seidl hire. They worked together at McLaren and Key only lasted a few months into 2023 there after Seidl departed. Despite McLaren's form turning around rapidly after Key left and that team's technical organisation being revamped, Seidl had confidence that Key was the man to lead the technical side of Audi's F1 project. Binotto might not feel the same way, and his influence could be keenly felt in other areas too. Audi will presumably need a dedicated team principal, one Binotto will need to appoint. German publication Automotor and Sport reckons current Aston Martin team principal Mike Krack is in the frame there already. Another department Binotto could make a decisive difference in is on the driver side. Seidl was known to be a major factor in bringing in Audi's first driver signing, Nico Hülkenberg, who is arriving at Sauber for 2025 on a multi-year deal, but Seidl failed to lock down long-term target Carlos Sainz. Seidl was considered a key weapon in trying to seduce Sainz, given they worked together at McLaren before Sainz joined Ferrari, so losing Seidl could be considered a big blow in Audi's already fading hopes of landing the multiple race winner, except the person who signed Sainz for Ferrari was Binotto. His arrival could therefore revive Audi's bid for Sainz. It's a fresh chance for the team to try again at getting him, based on a solid new foundation for discussions. The only major aspect not impacted by this, at least for now, is the engine side. It should be secure from interference, as it has its own organisation and structure and, at least according to Audi, is ticking along nicely over in Germany and hitting its targets. And the fact that building a first ever F1 engine to massively complex regulations that are concerning even F1's most established manufacturers is not the part causing Audi the most strife says everything about how much trouble its Sauber run race team is really in.